Jaguar XJR5. He suddenly dropped about 8 places, so maybe he's had a spin.
He's probably spun it somewhere.
Yeah. So here we go.
So Kent Abrahamson is out of the picture now. These two with the Japanese Porsche really giving the Mercedes a hard time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Kent's completely out of it. He hasn't even appeared, has he, through the first chicane? So where has he gone?
Kent had rather a nasty accident in practice, and when he went over the curbs a bit too far, took quite a hunk out of the bottom of the car. So maybe that's that accident's come back to
bite him. Yes. Yeah, a couple of fires as well during practice. That was interesting.
Yes, the Steve Tandy Nissan had an electrical fire, and one of the Spices caught fire actually in the paddock, and there was the pompier had to be sent for, and there were flames. And
can you imagine having to dial 162? Yeah. We had a fire at the circuit. Can you send a fire engine from the centre of Le Mans, please? You know?
Oh dear.
Anyway, it's a great racing all down for the field. Look at this, the 60 car here. This is Rickenbacker in the Cheetah, isn't it? That's one of the Chuck Ramager cars.
Yes, it's a later Cheetah with a 3.5 litre engine when the Group C rules changed from the fuel consumption rules to the 3.5 litre rules.
Yeah, people talk about Peter Sauber as being the most successful Swiss constructor, but Chuck Ramager was actually there long before him.
I was going to say, he was sort of producing cars as we watched that Jägermeister Porsche, and that
a bit
really
slow, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, the Seki cars.
10 seconds, so we're sort of slowing down there on the...
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, we got... Oh, that's a bit tricky there. Richard Eyre.
He's got himself onto the grass out of the way.
Yeah, but that Nissan is definitely running on fail-safe, I think it's...
Yes. And going back to Chuck Ramager, his cars were always very neat and extremely well put together.
Yep.
Nice cars.
Remember the first time we saw the Group C one was at Spa, wasn't it?
Yes, that had an Aston Martin engine.
Yep.
But I'm afraid it was not a very happy marriage, those two. But
like anything in motorsport, things come and go. So these two cars, we think, probably ailing now a little bit. They've lost... maybe it's just that...
I think it's that the weather is sort of the change in the surface, the change where the rain is and where the rain isn't, where the spray is, the spray isn't, is making a lot of difference.
Round an arch corner then this is now the long blast, isn't it, up through towards the Porsche curves, and all these drivers will be so tippy-toe there. We've had a lot of accidents in qualifying for the main race, the 24 hours at Porsche curves this year, and they'll be very well aware of that, Chris.
Yes, the little Cheetah still harrying Kent Abrahamson in the very powerful Nissan.
It has to be said that the driving in this race has been remarkably good, bearing in mind the conditions are so absolutely awful. They really have hung on very, very well there.
Yeah, we don't know what caused Mike Donovan's accident, of course. He may have hit a puddle on the
I think it was something like that, or a white line or something. You never know.
And again, Robin Donovan, apologies, as we said earlier, for misnaming you. We know you're a great driver, and you're never doing like that. Mike Donovan, also a very, very talented driver. So it's just one of those things that happens.
It's interesting looking at these cars. When you think these cars were from the early and mid 1980s and late 80s, they really have borne up extremely well over the years.
So the 12 cars parked up behind the barriers. The Iseki car, this is, as Chris pointed out earlier, is on the grass, and they got that car behind the barriers. Now, it's still shown as fourth at the moment on our timing screens. That'll change in a moment. Yeah, he's plunging down the order. So the race pace of Bob Berridge, 4 minutes 38 seconds. That compares,
which is not bad in the wet.
Well,
let's face it.
It compares with what the best time we saw from the Audis this morning in the warm-up of 4 minutes 3. So it's only 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yes.
Well,
in 20 years, you know. I mean, it's not really.
And you can say that the conditions in the warm-up were considerably better than they are at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is for sure going to be the penultimate lap of this race, or demonstration race, I think we'll call it now. But look, it's not raining here. There's no rain on the puddles, but the water's streaming down the windows of our commentary box.
In comes number 17, the Porsche, incidentally, if you missed him. That's the Belgian car. That's out of the way.
Christophe Dansenburg.
We've just seen him go by ahead.
That was the Jägermeister car.
Yeah, the Jägermeister car.
Yes, that was one of the last 962s that Porsche built.
And a spin for Derek Bell. Mr. Bell, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
I was once with Derek Bell when he spun a BMW at Donington Park, so we won't go into that.
I mean, look at the flat profile of that rear wing on this car. This is, as you say, it's a Le Mans car, and very, very little wing on that. I guess Derek didn't have a lot of rear end grip there going up into Dunlop. Here it goes again. No, he'd already spun it, hadn't he? So,
yeah.
Oh well. Shows he's trying, Chris.
Yes, and in there you see his iconic helmet in the car there, and he is enjoying himself.
Yeah, and he flicked it round, didn't he, through 180 degrees, probably saying an extremely rude word, which we mustn't repeat.
I was going to say, another
there's another one.
Yeah, this is the 20 car of Bergland.
Yep, Klaus Bergland.
That's
with the spice, yeah. No spice there.
That was one of the French run spices, Chris.
Yes, I think there are 8 spices in this race. They've really done very well. They've aged well.
Yeah.
But the one thing we are rather missing in this race, unfortunately, is any competitive Jaguars.
Yes, it is rather sad. We saw the one car, the XJR5, and there was supposed to be one of the V6s around too, but that didn't turn up either.
Oh dear. Peter Garrard then stops the Momo Nissan. That's the American one, built by Dev Dvorsky's Nissan Performance Technology in California. Here's the other car that was built in Britain and still being given a hard time there, Neville, by Eric Rickenbacker.
Yes.
Quite fittingly, Eric is a Swiss driver in a Swiss car.
Yeah. It's come up extremely well, that car.
Look, he's hanging on to that Nissan, isn't he? Nissan's back up to speed, by the way.
Yes, you can see immediately comes on song, he pulls away.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful car.
Just dried out a bit.
Yeah. So the clock is ticking away. 2.5 minutes left of this race. I guess as Bob Burridge crosses the line, that'll be the start of his last lap.
Into his last lap, I'd say.
Yeah, this is the same place Derek Bell just lost
if
it.
you can.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you're going to.
Derek, of course, spun to the outside of this curb, and here he is.
Spice spinning
on the inside, yeah.
Bergland's Spice. Gordon Spice was primarily a saloon car driver, although he did have a single-seater career. And then suddenly, sort of almost out of the blue, changed from saloon cars to the Spice as a sports car, and had an immense amount of success.
Yeah, Group C C2 could have been invented for Gordon, couldn't it?
Really
he just took to it like a duck to water. Yeah.
But it was his company, Spice Engineering, produced a lot of cars, both for Group C and for the American IMSA series, and they were the backbone of the series. They, with Porsche, were the backbone of the series, and
very successful in America.
And in fact, successful enough to attract the attention of Pontiac, who then got him to start naming the cars Fieros for a while, didn't they?
Yeah. They were very good cars indeed.
So here's that Nissan then. In 5th place at the moment, Kent Abrahamson. We were worried for him earlier that we thought he had lost something, but he seems to have got his mojo back again, didn't he?
Well,
and he's got his lights working as well.
Yeah, and it is so wet on that part of the circuit.
Yeah,
it's still got an enormous amount of spray there.
Times aren't improving. Bob Burridge up to speed, but his lap is just crossed the line 4:35. So he's only 3 seconds quicker on that lap. But conditions are definitely getting worse.
They're definitely. Well, they're varying from one part of the circuit to the other, which makes life so difficult. Here comes the Mercedes hanging on in there.
Doesn't even need his wiper on at the moment, as you can see. Oh, he's got it on delayed, so.
Yeah. That looks fabulous, doesn't it?
It does look beautiful, doesn't it? I mean, you can't forget when you see these cars, those wonderful days of Michael Schumacher, Jochen Mass, Carl Wendlinger, all the works drivers of that era. Most of whom had achieved, and those that didn't, basically, sadly, Wendlinger perhaps had a career that did not go as far as that might have done, but Michael's still there doing it now.
Yeah, there was an iconic poster, Chris, wasn't there, in Group C days? It had these 3 young guys, Michael Schumacher, Carl Wendlinger, and Heinz-Harald Frenzel. And the poster in German said, "Would you let these young guys drive your Mercedes?"
Yeah.
And they did.
They did.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
All 3 of them.
And Michael still is.
Well, Heinz-Harald Frentzen too. Heinz is still running. He's running in the ADAC GT Masters very, very successfully, racing for Corvette. So Carl Wendlinger, of course, a winning driver in the World Touring Car Champion. The World FIA GT Championship. So all 3 of them still on top of their game.